let's provide some insight, let's provide some motivation and support and guidance and mentorship to help these students that are already underrepresented.
Hello, everyone. I'm Angela Rosa DiDonato.
And I'm Marian Leary.
And you're listening to Amplify Nursing, a Penn nursing podcast supported by the Panola Fund for Innovation in Nursing.
Amplify Nursing features nurses who are leading the way in science, policy, and innovation.
Our guests defy stereotypes, define practice, and disrupt convention.
We highlight the breadth and depth of nursing influence on society by amplifying nurses who are pushing boundaries and breaking down barriers to build a new paradigm.
Today on Amplify Nursing, we talk with Renee Omoyeni, founder of Compass RN. Renee began her career as a nurse in the U.S. Army. She also has experience working in case management and IV infusion therapy, and then went on to earn an MS in health education and promotion. With her passion for mentoring and a desire to help others navigate their nursing careers, Renee founded Compass RN as a platform that connects youth to health education and nursing. Renee talks with us about the obstacles she faced in starting her nursing career, her experience with military nursing, the importance of exposing students to nursing at a young age, and her work with Compass RN.
Renee, welcome to the Amplify Nursing Podcast. I am so super excited to have you on and learn more about you and about Compass RN.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I read on your website that you are a dog mom, a brunch fanatic, and a lover of ice cream, which I love all of those things. So I think we're going to be fast friends here. But I'd love to get a sense of where you started and the foundation that formed your work leading up to what you're doing now as a nurse and with your organization.
Of course. So I have one of those stories of, I knew that I always wanted to be a nurse as far back as I can remember. I knew that I wanted to either be an educator or, be a teacher or nursing. But I always, had that drive and could see myself becoming a nurse. So I, went through high school, went through college, knowing exactly what I wanted to do. And really Compass RN is a program, is an organization that I wish I would have had, even though I was driven and even though I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Like I said, I really didn't have, I would say, the best support, but I didn't have the best path in front of me of how to follow nursing. So the prerequisite stage I really struggled in, even though I got into nursing school and I graduated. My prerequisite stage was just kind of all over the place. Anatomy and physiology, just the classes that are very important when you're applying to nursing school. I just found myself just not really being focused enough, I would say. Even coming out of high school, I just would just do the, not bare minimum, but I was never really driven to the point academically where now I can understand how all of it matters, even coming out of high school and going into college. So I carried a lot of those not so great traits and great habits into college. So I was one where, I met the minimum to apply to nursing school, but it wasn't very competitive. So having this dream and having this drive, and then now applying to nursing school and being rejected, and yes, you can apply, but your grades are not all that great, or you have a transcript that's just kind of all over the place. So I really struggled in that area. And even now, 13 years later, I've been a nurse, over 13 years. I really always knew that I wanted to have a nonprofit and work with teenage girls. Anyone who knows me knows that that was always a big goal of mine. And you would think it would kind of be in reverse, right? I would be just really inspired to talk to nursing students when I would see them on the floor in their whites, and just remembering how nervous I was, and talking to students throughout the years, still hearing some of the same struggles that I went through when I was in my prereq journey. I was like, wow, I thought at the time, I thought it was just me, because I feel like when you're going into nursing, if you don't really have friends or other people around you who are going through it, you can sometimes feel a little isolated. And, I'm just trying to get to this goal and do the best that I can. But again, just not having the right tools to really latch onto it and be inspired enough for me, for my story, to say, you know what, I want to do better. Like I want to really devote myself to my studies coming out of high school. So I just really started to talk to nursing students and really build an idea in my mind of what would have helped me in this stage. And it started to just kind of go backwards a little bit. Like the more I would talk to students, I would find they struggled in their pre-reg journey as well. So again, I started to see myself and put together my love for mentorship, my love for nursing, and specifically kind of that beginning journey, that beginning part of the journey. That's how Compass RN was birthed.
So you mentioned that you were really driven to be a nurse and you knew that you wanted to be a nurse that, in high school, and you went into college doing that. What was it about nursing that spoke to you?
So I actually used to always watch TV shows, ER at the time was big, of course, A Baby Story. I always would just be so fascinated by the delivery nurses and thought that's what I wanted to do going into nursing. But I just love the idea of taking care of people and being with someone at their lowest and sometimes happiest point. So I just was always just really fascinated by just the field of nursing. And that was without really knowing what you could do within the nursing field. Like I said, I really didn't have any type of awareness, or I didn't have anybody to really talk to about the nursing field. And so I went into it just thinking, this is what you can do. You're a bedside nurse. And then I found out there's, of course, just a broad specialty field in nursing. And then when I got into it, of course, you can do just about anything in the field. So just the compassion and the opportunity within the field is what really drew me.
And what were you doing once you started nursing before you founded Compass RN?
So I actually joined the Army right after nursing school. So that was something I didn't know, that you could be a nurse in the, military. And we had a recruiter come to our campus and post flyers. And I just knew that I wanted to travel, and being a new nurse, of course, you need to have some experience. So I just kind of, latched onto the Army, and it took me for a wonderful ride, and just the opportunities, of course, not only for the benefits that the military is known for, but just for the structure, the leadership within nursing, and what you're able to do. So I worked on a medical surgical floor for about 4 years, where I started. And then from there, I started to get interested in infusion nursing. There was like a 7 or 8, I can't remember how many bed infusion unit on our floor. And I just was so interested in that field, and IVs and needles, and just didn't know that was a thing. So from there, I continued on with infusion. And up until recently, I was doing it kind of part-time or PRN, and then got into case management. And that's where I am today, still full-time.
I've spoken to so many nurses on this podcast who are innovators and leaders and entrepreneurs who started out their nursing career in the military. And I find that so fascinating. What do you think it is about the military that fits so nicely with nursing?
Oh my goodness. I think that the military, out of all the things that I learned, right, there's just such a push and such an importance, of course, for leadership. So it really kind of pulled me personally out of a world where I kind of knew what was, going to be expected of me. I knew that I would get a good job in nursing, and I could, kind of do what I wanted to do. So the military really helped me to just kind of pause on having such a, I don't want to say a plan, right? Like, I think I'm that kind of person where I like to have things planned out. In the military, of course, you can make plans and that can change. But I think just the leadership is the biggest piece that sticks out to me. Within 6 months, you were already training to be a preceptor. Within a year, 6 months from there, you're training to be charters. Different roles that maybe, I know for me, I was like, I'm not ready to do that. I'm nervous. I'm learning myself as a brand new nurse. But the military will definitely instill those values in you to bring out the leader in you, to really bring out that confidence that maybe has been hidden or softened. So I think the military is just a great opportunity for those that are looking for something different, looking to serve your country, of course, to be, a part of something bigger than just you. But it just afforded me the opportunity that I don't think I would have ever had, without joining, for me. And it really just gave me a great insight on what nursing looks like across the board, right? Like there's military nursing, and then of course there's civilian nursing, but to see how things may look a little different, but then how they're the same as well. So it was just a great experience.
Well, it definitely seems like you've taken those experiences and the leadership qualities and paid them forward, especially with now your nonprofit Compass RN. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Compass RN is a 501c3 nonprofit, and it really was designed to help students that are within the same kind of walk or path in their journey as I was. So we provide basically three things: awareness, access, and mentorship. And to go back a little bit with that, so the purpose of Compass RN, yes, there's a need for nurses, but within our research, we found there's an underrepresentation of minority nurses. So I think right now, as far as like the latest in 2020, it was estimated to be about 19.4% minority representation in nursing as far as registered nurses. And so in our research, we found, students, even at the middle school and high school level, one of the things we like to do is go into the classroom and ask, what do you know about nursing? Why do you want to be a nurse? Like the hands go up in the room. And when you really start to get the understanding of what students think about nursing and what they're seeing, it's very limited. So the awareness piece that we like to provide is providing more of an insight into what the field provides, the good things and the bad things, right? I feel like it's easy to glamorize nursing. It has amazing benefits. I love the career, right? There's so many things that you can do, of course, but what happens if you get into it and you find it's not really for you? Or maybe it's not what you thought it was, but you never really had an experience to expose you to it. So that's where Compass RN comes in, is providing that awareness, and then there's access. So yes, we can tell you as much as we can about nursing. We can come into the room and expose you to nurses that look like you or look like your parents or your family, and you can be inspired by that. But what happens next? So we provide summer nurse camps to be able to recruit students that can remain in our program. We started off with one summer nurse camp last year for 35 students working with a local college, and we've expanded to 6 camps total for this year. And we really just love seeing students be so excited to almost finally attach to someone in nursing. Like, it's so surprising to me that I'll talk to students and say, tell me what you know about nursing. And even some schools that may have a health professions focus. And sadly, I hear great things. And I also hear, nurses are kind of just the assistant, not really understanding the scope of nurses really do.
I'm fascinated by this, right? Like, what is the perception of nursing to these high school students? So one is that they're the assistants. What else do you hear? And then how do you help counter that?
Yes. So that was very surprising for me to hear, as far as the nurse is the assistant. I've even heard, sadly, the nurse is the secretary, to the physician. Or one thing that I'll do when I go into the classroom is I'll say, I want you to write down, or I want you to vocally tell me within a group, right? Within a group of 5 or 6 or sometimes more students, I want you to collectively come up with as many types of nurses that you can think of that are in the hospital, that are in the clinic, any type of nurse that you can think of, departments in the hospitals. It's the same every school that I go to. Like, there may be like your, popular travel nurse or school nurse. I'll hear pediatric nurse, NICU nurse, right? The ones that are more common. But when we get into, have you ever heard of an occupational health nurse? Have you ever heard of informatics? Have you heard of forensic nursing? and you start to see, kind of light bulbs go off where it's like, I never heard of that, or I didn't know exactly what a nurse practitioner is. Like, we have students that they raise their hands and I ask them what they want to do. Oh, I want to be a nurse practitioner. Okay, what is a nurse practitioner? It's a nurse. Okay, how does that differ from a nurse on the floor? So there's a lot of things that I think students are hearing and seeing and talking about, but what we found locally, right, where we are, is where do students go, right? Where do you go if you're not already at a profession school, or you're not in a P-Tech program where it's based around healthcare? But what about specifically nursing? Like, how do we captivate students and inspire them early? And so how we counter that is getting into the classroom, front facing, right? Having some fun, learning about nursing. It should be fun at this point. We've had students in college, their first year, come back and tell me, I'm nervous now. Like, I went to my first semester orientation and I learned about nursing, and they said, if you make a C, you're already, the odds of you getting into nursing school go down. And that may be true, but at the same time, like, let's provide some insight, let's provide some motivation and support and guidance and mentorship to help these students that are already underrepresented, that may not have an opportunity to go to a camp. That, there's some great camps out there, but the students that we target are underserved, underrepresented. They may never hear about a camp in their area, or they may not have one. If they hear about it, there's barrier financially. So what we want to do in Compass RN is provide that recruitment of, hey, come to this nurse camp, even if you think you want to be a doctor, right? Even if you're just interested in healthcare, come to the camp, learn about nursing, be inspired, talk to nurses, because we like to have other healthcare professionals there as well. Talk to a clinical social worker. Have you ever heard of that? Just provide some additional opportunities for these students that are not receiving that type of opportunity. That's just one of the things that we do, is in the school, providing field trips within our program, going to the medical center, going to the different hospitals, understanding, why is this hospital known for this and the other one isn't? What's the difference between the levels? Like, what can I do and how can I see myself there outside of just watching something on social media, or just imagining, which is what I did, right? You imagine, what is it to be in nursing school? Like, what does a simulation center even look like? Things that students are just having to kind of conjure ideas, and it gets kind of, I feel like, lost in the imagination. And then again, if you don't have those tools, just like me, right? You don't have those tools to say, I want to be more, and get a mentor. A nurse mentor is a big thing about our program, is have a nurse mentor to guide you along your path before you even get out of high school. So those students, like little Renee, that I was driven, but I could have used a little bit more support to have those type of encounters that can change how your journey looks. So access, awareness, mentorship is basically what Compass RN is about, and partnering with our medical centers, partnering with our community to be able to provide these students with these opportunities, because we can't do it by ourselves. As large as nursing is, we have nurses who are excited and eager to be involved and eager to kind of go back to that spot in their lives of being 17 and not really knowing and not really having anything to kind of latch on to. So.
And is that what you do at the summer camp?
So the summer nurse camps are it's just amazing. So of course, like I said, there's camps all over the country that students, if there's nothing local, like in the Houston area, we provide the first summer nurse camp in Houston last year. So we had 35 students come from across Houston school district, the largest school district in Texas. And we partnered with the local university and had 4 days where students came onto the campus in the simulation center, where they heard from at least 15 to 18 nurses that came in and did panel interviews, spoke to students all from, we can have one nurse that has worked in 8 different specialties, right? We had nurses come in that had, experience in legal nursing. So they talk to students about the different opportunities. So bringing to life, again, more of what we do in the classroom. We only have a certain amount of time to talk about that. And it's just, one person exposing students to that. But at the camp, they're able to ask questions and see nurses, and even the males having a push to educate young men about what nursing looks like and have them actually meet a male nurse, because it is a female dominated. Having a male nurse come into the school and just be present has been big for our male students. So the camp, a combination of the panels, the Q&As, and then the simulation center. So hands-on nursing skills practice, CPR training, and they get to, at that time, kind of network because we've had some of the nurses and nursing students after with the students. They give them their contact information. They're just like, hey, call me if you have any questions. So it really is a good time for these students to connect to the nurse field in a way that they're not connecting. And I'll just say that from our area and from being locally in Houston. Like I said, where do you go? Like I'll have students say, are there any internship opportunities in nursing? Like, how do I learn more? And as an example, we took a field trip to our local county hospital, one of our local county hospitals, just a couple of weeks ago. And they brought in other healthcare professionals other than nursing, because again, it's more than nursing. How do nurses collaborate with doctors? How do nurses collaborate with the CNO? What is a CNO? Answering these questions that they don't even know how to ask just yet. So providing them with opportunities to learn how to volunteer, what happens in the hospital, motivating these students who are underrepresented. How do we get them more connected to not just healthcare, but to nursing? So the camps provide a great way for us to recruit students into our program to say, you're interested in this nursing camp, but there's more after the camp. This is not it. Like, we want to support you. We want to follow you. We want to give you a big nursing hug and stay with you along your journey, along your path. Because again, that prerequisite stage seems to be where a lot of the minorities, including myself, get kind of lost, because I started to kind of just do a little research and data. And again, like I mentioned, talking to nursing or pre-nursing students and saying, tell me about your prereq journey. Let me see your transcript. And it's that same struggle. See an anatomy, take an anatomy again. I withdrew from this class. Bottom of the HESI and ATI scores. Like, I had a student, an older student, say, I'm looking for, I want to apply to this particular school because they have the lowest HESI requirement. And it's just, why? Like, why are we doing that? Why can't it be you come out of high school into college and you are prepared, you're driven, you're motivated, you're striving for the highest, you're not just getting by. And again, that's exactly what I did, which is what I ended up in the path and the just the process that I was in. So recruiting students by way of the camp and following them. And that starts really as early as 7th grade, getting into the middle schools and providing the basis of what is a nurse. And when they get into high school, hey, we've already been following you for about 2 years. So come into our camp. Right? Come to the camp. You may decide at that point, working with mannequins is too much for me. The fake blood, it's too much. Okay, you have 4 years now to exactly what you want to do. And then from there, choosing students, being able to have students continue on in our program, in the mentorship program, is really the big basis of Compass RN, is to provide that needed support all the way until they become a nurse. So out of high school, in college, nursing school, NCLEX, and your first residency job, if you take your residency job or whatever you do, having that same support system all the way through the process.
So what's the response been from the students who go through your programs? How many of them go on to be a nurse? What do they tell you afterwards?
So we actually launched Compass RN only just a couple of years ago. So we've had great numbers already and great responses from our students. We did our first pilot cohort where we started off with, I believe, 7 students that graduated, or they were starting their senior year, and then they graduated in 20, doing my math correctly. They're in their first year of college right now. So we have 3 students, of course, that's something that we expect to happen. You have students who stick with it and others who say, it's not for me. But the biggest response, and those 3 students are still in college now pursuing nursing, but the biggest response of what we're doing now, like I mentioned, 35 students last year for our first camp. And this year, we're going to be able to reach over 200 students with nurse camps. And from that number, we will bring in students that are rising juniors at the time of their summer. Our first camp starts June. Rising juniors will then be brought into our mentorship program. And so we'll have a larger cohort that will start this year, and we'll follow them until they become nurses. So again, we're a newer organization, but that's something that I don't look at to say we're new and we've only done this. Like, I just know the vision of Compass RN is to affect students in the way that we are now. We have students that didn't even know the significance of a GPA was. And this is a bright student, very great GPA. She actually applied to the nursing school where we had the nurse camp. And we actually have 4 students who applied to the university who were accepted. One of them got a full ride scholarship that didn't even know what a GPA was. So we get comments like that. We get comments where, wow, this really inspired me to look more into nursing. I was looking more into medicine, which is fine, but not knowing really what nursing is. We've had students say, I want to be a nurse. They come in, they're like, nope, I want to be a doctor. That's too much time spending with a patient, right? And everyone has a preference. But really getting those stories and getting the feedback of, it really inspired me. It really gave me access. It really provided me with an opportunity to learn more and just know what I think I want to do with my life and be really inspired. So we expect our numbers to just continue to grow. We're in, like I mentioned, the largest school district now in Texas, and we have expanded to have a nurse camp in Dallas the upcoming summer as well. So our goal is to expand across the country and be able to recruit students the same way that we're doing now, by way of just having a nurse camp and connecting with students and being able to follow them and pair them with a nurse mentor within the community, within the medical centers, and just continue helping students that need the help.
Renee, the work you're doing is so important, and thank you for all that you're doing. If folks want to learn more about Compass RN, how can they get connected with you?
Yeah, so our website is www.compassrn.org, COMPASSRN. And we have videos on there where we have students giving their feedback about, nurse camps. We have more videos coming. Like I mentioned, we have several camps this year, so we'll have a lot more content. And then also we're on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn under Compass RN. And I think that covers all of the platform.
It sounded very comprehensive to me.
Okay. And then I will say, finally, since we are a 501c3 nonprofit, we do open up our program to people who are just interested in mentorship, becoming a nurse mentor. As we continue to expand partnerships, of course, that's just going to be how we're able to continue expanding our program and serving students. So we're always interested in talking to people that are interested in providing, whatever type of assistance.
Well, great. Thank you, Renee. And we will make sure to post all that information on our website as well. It has really been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello, Marion.
Hello, Angela. How's it going?
Amazing. I just listened to your interview with Renee.
Super, super amazing work she's doing. I love nothing more than inspiring students into new paths that they may not have been aware of otherwise. And so the work she's doing in Houston, I just find so inspiring.
Yeah, I think it's always incredible when people who've had a tough time and a struggle doing things turn around and say, this was really hard for me. I want to make it easier for everybody else. And they start to stack the deck to help people rather than make it more difficult for the people coming up behind them. And I think what Renee is doing is such a perfect example of that.
Yeah, totally. And, she said it in her interview, but like students want to see more nurses like themselves, right? Whether that's nurses of color, whether that's male nurses, like if you don't see yourself represented, and we talk about this all the time on this podcast, you don't know that you can do these things. That's why nursing has the demographic representation that it has, and why we need to really have more programs like Renee's encouraging all types of students into this profession, because it will only make the profession better.
In doing that, what we're going to realize is that not everybody has the same experience in preparing them for things like advanced education and different professional careers and things like that. And when you start to realize that, then you can make changes to fix the systems that are already in place to encourage everyone to be able to follow whatever path they want and give them the tools to do that. And I think that that's another thing that Renee was talking about and highlighting, and how, she noticed that people like her coming up behind her were having some of the same struggles that she was having because they didn't have the same support as everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's her whole reason for doing these things, for doing nurse camp and inspiring other students and being a mentor and a role model. Yeah, it's just incredibly important work, and the profession and these students are so lucky to have her.
Amplify Nursing is hosted by Dr. Angela Rosa DiDonato and Marion Leary, and produced by the University of Pennsylvania School of Nursing, with special thanks to Jonathan Zhu for his assistance. Music for the podcast was created by Harper Leary. The podcast is made possible by the Krista and Rich Pinola Fund for Innovation in Nursing.
Follow us on Twitter at Penn Nursing. Until next time, keep pushing over, under, around, and through. We want to thank you for listening to the Amplify Nursing podcast and remind you to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you do your podcast listening. And if you can, please do us a solid and rate and review us as well. It will go a long way in amplifying our episodes.